yeah, all right, very nice. And of course, this went, the thing went completely bad. Both the board and the thing. Hi guys, welcome to Nikola Learns Chess with one and only great. I am Anna Rudolf, and as you can tell, my layout decided to act up. So I'm going to ask Anna to introduce her, to do the introduction while I adjust it, and you just bear with me if you don't mind. Thanks.
Sure, take your time, Nikola, and welcome everyone to the show. My apologies. I was late because there was an insane support on my stream. I finished my stream late, and then Nikola saw what was going on. Basically, my studio was falling apart just a moment ago. I knocked down the lights as well, and now we are here. Now we are here. How's everyone doing today? This is our weekly show. Normally it's on Wednesdays, but Nicola kindly adjusted to the PogChamp schedule. Tomorrow, two of my main students will be facing each other at the time when we normally have our shows. Hafu will be taking on Easy with Aces, and I'm gonna do a watch party about that. I also have coaching sessions all these days for PogChamp, so I have been mainly focusing on the event, but today is a rest day at PogChamp, so we moved our show from Wednesday to today this week, only this week.
Yeah, and it's very kind of Anna to maintain the schedule because she is having the absolutely insane schedule. Anna's channel has been growing, as I told her before this. Her channel is having a what's called in business catastrophic success, and it's very good to see the wholesome tomato community grow so fast so quickly. And I just want to give a quick shout out to Kimi Liu, who is here with us, and thank you for being thank you everyone. Thank you, Famous Wizard, Pizza Racer, Kimi. Hey Lila, it's very good to see you. Oh, what did I manage to mess up here? All right, so Liu 18. Yeah, let's try this again. And hey, Chess Lions, it's very good to see you. Chess Lions is the secret name of my dear friend Daniel Dimovsky.
Oh,
and please give all three of them, Chess Lions, Kimi, and Lila, a follow. They're great streamers and they're great members of the Twitch chess community. And looks like the layout works. Yes.
Excellent. Excellent. You did it. You did it, Nicola. You did it.
Yeah. All right. So, not for the first time, not for the last time, I have absolutely no idea what Anna has prepared. So I'm looking forward to it. Polly3141, welcome. Thank you for the follow. I'm going to end one little program announcement. Nicola's Best Losses, my best losses is scheduled actually for this in 2 days on Thursday at regular 8 p.m. time. I have some aural eruptions. And today's highlight is actually the very last moments of my adoption match against my dear friend, FIDE Master Julian. What's wrong with me today? Julian Landau. Please don't clip this and share with Julian. He will never forgive me. I would love to commentate Famous Wizard, but unfortunately, yours truly has to travel. Thank you, Lemmy, for the bits. Thank you, Polly, for the follow, and thank you, Shaded Glow 2424 for the follow. So, Anna, when you are not streaming 16 hours a day, what are you doing?
I'm preparing for Nicola Learns Chess because I will still need to make sure that you improve as much as possible. And since I realized that Nicola liked the sessions where we went back a bit further than just the past few years, I started digging up more of the old gems for these sessions.
Okay.
For today, we have another former world champion.
Okay, I expect Cathedral Regence 1847. Kidding. Hello, Theo Gantes, too. Very good to see you, my friend. Yeah.
I think think you like this former world champion too. And if I
Okay.
remember correctly, when we had the dark side stream, you mentioned his name, I believe. Hope
Okay.
I remember well.
Just a quick shout out to great, my dear friend Maria Emelianova, better known as PhotoChess. Please
Hi,
give her a
Maria.
follow if you haven't. She is now spending lots of time commentating on chess.com RU. And anyway, so, all right. Oh, and thank you, Lila, for the subscription. And of course, Maria wants me to hydrate, so I'm going to do that now. All right.
I should do that too.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Maria. That's very kind of you. All right, so what are we? So I'm guessing the champion. Oh, and thank you, Maria, for the 300 bits. Very greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Yes, I hope I remember well that you mentioned his name during that stream.
Okay.
I hope I remember. Which one would you guess among the former world champions
Well,
that we haven't studied yet?
Okay, so we're going further back than Tal, right? Okay.
Yes, we are going.
And we have a hype train. Thank you, Maria, for that.
Amazing.
And hi, Chess Noob. It's very good to see you. All right, so my favorite champion of the past. Oh, and thank you, Tio, for the bits. Very greatly appreciated. And 1 mint T. We are actually 63 followers away from having 2,000 followers, and we're going to have a special event for it. So looking forward to that.
Let's get those 63 in today's session.
Yes.
Bring a friend, call your mother, bring everyone in.
Thank you, Anna. I like Alekhine.
Correct.
Oh, cool.
I was hoping I remembered well, and that is indeed today's theme. The games of the former world champion, fourth world champion, Alexander Alekhine. What do you like about his play, and how would you describe his play to those who may not have studied Alekhine's games?
Okay, I like him because he was a very complicated player. He liked to complicate positions. His style is very murky. He was a very aggressive player, a fearsome attacker, a fearsome sacrificer, and he had a fabulous endgame technique, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
So
exactly.
I remember actually a quote from Garry Kasparov from his book, My Great Predecessors. He basically said, when Capablanca had to play Alekhine, he had to do hard work, and Capablanca wasn't used to do hard work. Anyway.
Yeah, I can imagine what a shift it was, and
Yes.
And then he came back to being a world champion. So
Sure.
that's another treat that not many have done so far. Another huge achievement that after losing his
Yes.
crown, he fought back and once again became world champion. Can you tell the story briefly of that too? Because I'm sure that you know way better the history.
Okay.
Just very briefly, the world championships.
Oh, sure. Yes. Well, Alekhine is famous because he, the way he escaped Soviet Union is somewhat amazing. He became world champion in 1927, beating Capablanca in a match in which he was not favored, but he was able to impose his own style of play on Capablanca. Capablanca missed lots of chances, and he was basically a dominant chess figure until 1935. Then, for reasons of liking too much drink, I presume, he lost the match against Dr. Max Ove in 1935, got the title back in 1937. Then he was persona non grata in Soviet Union. Then unfortunately he ended up on the Axis side of the fence during World War II, played on some tournaments, got himself a little bit in trouble, and then basically stayed a world champion until his death. And I think it was 46, right, in Estoril in Lisbon. So
yes.
Thank you, Just Music and Gaming, for the bits. Thank you, Theo, again. Thank you, Gary Oliveira, for the follow. And yeah. And
Yes, a
incidentally,
very, very rich story, and
yeah,
it's lots of achievements, but also the sad parts, of course, as you mentioned, and not an easy life that he had.
let me if I grew up in Serbia. I've been living in New York for the past almost 30 years, but I grew up in Belgrade, so it's Serbia. Thanks, Lamif.
I grew up near Belgrade, if it counts. Sorry, I was cutting you there, but I'm from Hungary, the south of Hungary, near
Oh,
the
what?
Serbian border.
Oh, nice. I did. I know you were from Hungary. I didn't know you from south of Hungary. So cool.
Yeah, very near. It was basically closer to me to make it sometimes to a weekend tournament in Serbia than to travel
Ah,
to Budapest or the north of Hungary. We were just an
that's good
hour
to
away
know.
from the border.
Anyway, so there is a big conspiracy theory that basically Russian secret services had something to do with Alekin's death, but that's a story for another stream.
Yeah, yeah. But you summed it up so well. Thank you so much. I couldn't have said it better. I always rely on Nicola's knowledge of chess history because I think you know the facts. You remember the dates way better than I do. I love history, but when it comes to recalling, especially the years, when is it what happened, you're a true expert.
Thank you, Anna. That's very kind of you. So,
So,
is this young
before
Anakin
we
or
think
old
it's a light
Anakin?
session, let's begin. You have a choice between two games.
Okay.
I chose for today, they are not that complex games because I wanted to choose games that were annotated by Al Yachin. So we have two
Uh,
games that both of them were analyzed by him. And I'm going to read out those parts and his thoughts on the positions. They still will be challenging though. But I'm just saying it's not going to be the crazy chaotic positions. And that also wasn't that much his style to get lost in the midst of a tall like position.
no,
So it can be the game Alyachin versus Milan Bartoszek from the year 1943, or the game of Alyachin against Tartakover 1932. I thought you may know one or two of these games,
I don't
hopefully
know
not
the
both.
Bartosha game, and since it was
Oh, okay.
obviously played on the German side of the fence, that might actually be interesting. I presume
Mm-hmm.
that was a tournament somewhere in then protectorate of Bohemia and Moravia. So, okay.
It was played in Prague.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's it.
good guess. Good guess there.
Okay.
And the opening, we're going to be looking at this from the white side. The opening was the French defense, but it's Al Yahin with the white pieces. So I'm a
Yeah.
little sad. I'm a little sad.
Yeah. One of the few things, and I will never agree on, is the evaluation of the French defense, but I'll, of course, defer to my coach. So,
Yeah, the French defense has its fans and its haters. Um, Here he already commentated on this move, so I was gonna read it out, even though we are not reaching yet the critical position. But Al Yahin added to bishop b5. White's inclination is to maintain the tension in the center for as long as possible. Black's next move, although fairly plausible, is nonetheless a mistake, which is perhaps decisive. He's saying that about Black's next move, which was, can you guess what's the move that he considers here a potential mistake, but
okay,
still looks like a logical move?
it's what, Bishop D7?
Yes. So I'm
Hey,
gonna
Danny,
make
my
the
friend.
move and read out the rest. So he's saying Black's next move, bishop d7, although fairly plausible, is
No.
nonetheless a mistake, which is perhaps decisive. Relatively better would be c takes d4. So instead of bishop d7, he considers c takes d4 better, whereupon white can castle, since the defense of the pawn on d4 would only create difficulties for black. But
Okay.
bishop d7 was played instead. So after c takes d4, he was just gonna castle, not take back on d4. Bishop d7. Now what? So from here we start thinking, and there's no immediate refutation. This is not a blunder. but I think positionally he just starts taking the advantage. Al-Yahin, not immediately, just
Okay.
a plan. Let's see what plan you would go for, Nikola.
Hey, Lali, my friend. It's very good to see you. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Uh, okay, so Anakin's moves are notoriously hard to predict, for me at least.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm pretty positive that he's not gonna take on d5, and he's not gonna take on c5, and he's not gonna castle. Though castling is actually appears like a perfectly natural move.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing Alain, he'll want to punish Black for this. Hey, RV Kevin 87, thank you for the follow. So what is the aggressive move in this position? C4 is an aggressive move,
Mm-hmm.
which may or may not work. Is this Nikola learns to play Risk with Anna? Actually, Anna and I may do that one of these days.
Do you also like Risk,
I love
the
Risk.
board game?
I actually love
It
Risk.
has always been one of my favorites.
Yes, no. I love Risk. That was one of my favorite games on my iPad for quite a few years.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know. We should definitely do a stream one day.
Okay, we'll do a stream on Risk. Hey, Luigi. All right, so C4 is an option. What is objectively a good move? Objectively a good move is... it feels natural to castle. It feels natural to play e5. It's also natural to actually, for Alekhine, knight e5, but that knight e5 is actually a blunder in this position, so he can't play it.
Mm-hmm. Good that you pointed it out.
Yeah.
I'll show quickly why it's a blunder, because it's very important to notice that once this knight moves, bishop is hanging. It happens in many positions that white blunders pawns like this, whether the pawn is already on e5 or they push it there, and then black can take it for the same reason. I know that Nikola knows it, but in case some of the viewers can learn from this, that this is very typical in the French defense to win a pawn like this.
Yeah, and this is incidentally, if you guys are doing chess.com puzzle rushes, this motive from puzzle number 6 to about 11 or 12 routinely comes up. Okay.
Good to know.
So, c4 is a nice move. It also, it's quite possible to take on c6 and play against that bad French bishop. I can also declare that I'm just going to castle. Though black doesn't really have any threats that would necessitate castling. I know Alekhine is not going to play c3. Okay, so this is Alekhine, so let's vote for c4 and forget about the pawn on d4.
Interesting thought process. c4 is interesting because it does force a decision by black. He needs to start reacting to the tension in the center. After c4, I would assume that black should start taking, because if you just develop the knight to protect the d5 pawn, that does step into e5.
Yeah.
And you don't have a good square for the knight anymore. I mean, knight e4 is still possible, but I don't think that this is so clear. So maybe here, instead of knight f6, black should try to start taking some of the pawns. Let's say d takes e4.
Okay. Obviously we're gonna take, and we're gonna let black to take on d4, and we're not gaining anything by doing this. But we can actually take on d4, but we're not gonna gain any advantage out of opening by playing this. We can take on c6. We can't take on c6. Well, actually, we can't, because we're going to lose the piece, but we can take on d4 with a knight. And then if black takes, the bishop takes the knight, we take with a queen, and we're exchanging basically everything. Hello, Halvard. Oh, and thank you, Luigi, for the cheer. Very greatly appreciated. Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah. So in all honesty, C4 was kind of wasn't meant that seriously, to be quite frank. That's
We still had to check it because it does change the pawn structure.
yeah. That's probably, how do you basically play for advantage if you're white here? Um, hmm. I mean, you can play C3, but that might be too I mean, C3 is a perfectly natural move. You can play Queen E2, but that kind of puts the pawn on D4. If this is my game, I'm just gonna play C3 and call it, call it a game. It's a natural move. It holds everything together, and will, as Halvard mentioned in chat, theoretically ED5 is probably objectively the best move. I would probably prefer to keep the tension. So it's C3 or one of these moves, depending how I feel on a particular day. This is incidentally not the way I normally play against French, so I'm a little bit out of my prep, if you want to say that.
You're saying you're a little bit out, and yet you found the two top moves for white. So yeah. Well done. Well done.
Yeah, thank you.
Those are the two moves that should be considered as main moves, and e takes d5 was the choice of Aliahin.
Okay.
So after the trade on d5, what do you think is the logical continuation here?
Well, the logical continuation is that black is going to end up with an isolated pawn on d5. So the real question here is what move order makes sense to make that happen. We can castle here because black is gonna take on d4. We can play knight b3, which may or may not be the best move, but we can also take on c6. There is also the possibility of playing queen e2 check, which is actually not the worst of moves. And you can also play c3 here as well to reinforce d4 and basically invite black to take. I think I don't see any real aggressive move in this position, but white needs to defend the pawn on d4 somehow. So
yeah, do you think he took the time to defend it, or he continued with his development?
I think Aliahin being Aliahin, he probably gave a check on e2.
Aiming for an endgame instantly.
Yeah, or castling is fine.
Yeah, he castled actually. He castled. Yeah, okay. You're right. Yeah. That's a very natural move. The pawn was taken, so let's see how do we react to knight takes d4.
Okay, well, you have the bishop that's hanging, so I presume that that bishop it really doesn't have any place to go. So taking on d7 is a natural move.
Yep, we can take on d7
or we can take on d4, double the pawns, and then move the bishop back to d3. So honestly, two doubled pawns on d file, their weakness. Extra pawn doesn't count. I think taking on d4 and preserving the white bishop makes sense. So I would take on d4 and then play bishop d3.
Yeah, and another advantage of taking on d4 first is that after c takes, you still can take if you want to. You can protect the b5 bishop or bring it back, but taking on d4 was a move that we had to play sooner or later regardless, so that knight cannot be kept on d4, and we need to double the pawns and then win the pawn back. So knight takes d4 will have to be played no matter what, while the bishop moves are optional. Here you can decide whether to trade the bishop, bring it back, or defend it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just read out what he said after knight takes d4, because it's interesting to see into a former world champion's thoughts. And knight takes d4, he's saying, it is quite clear that black will not manage to castle on the king side. Through the exchanges arising from the text move, one perceives that he is trying to prepare to castle long, which furnishes him, although only comparatively, oh, can I read that? Only comparatively so, with the best chance of resistance.
Okay.
C takes d4, and how shall we continue? If he's already talking about how black will not manage to castle. Oh, I think we do have a raid from your opponent,
Yep,
though.
we got a raid from Chiquitas. Thank you, Chiquitas. Oh, it would be nice if I can actually type it. Hey, Laura, it's very good to see you. I was watching your raid earlier today. I'm actually playing an adoption match this Sunday against Lara, and I'm very much looking forward to having, actually 3 mothers. So I also, I'm also got adopted by Aman, and Aman is actually very interested in the prospect. So I heard that from him. So Lara, thank you so much. Looking forward to it. That match is this coming Sunday at noon New York time, and I'm very looking forward. Welcome Raiders to Nikola Stoician channel. This is Nikola runs chess with one and only legend international master Anna Rudolf, and I am very, very, very much happy to see you guys here. Yes, Laura Unuk. Yes, but I think the match I'm playing against Laura, or I don't know. We haven't ironed that one out yet. Anyway, so
thank you so much for coming by, Chiquitas. Yeah. And I am rooting for you, Nikola, because you have been really good at avoiding adoption in your matches, even though the last one was a bit more difficult than usual.
Yeah, it's actually the current highlight on the channel. If you haven't seen it, take a look. This is how to avoid adoption, in the last move of the very last game. Take a look at the screen. I'm genuinely hope that my dear friend Julian Landau has since recovered from that thing. Basically, Julian played a very great match. He had a completely won position, and to quote one of the chat members, I think it was Amadeus Burrito, who basically said that he ran a marathon and then fell asleep at 2 meters before or 2 yards for Americans before the finish line. So he basically spaced out and flagged in a completely won position. I can't even call it a dirty flag because it's not a dirty flag. He just spaced out. Anyway, so that's how I managed to avoid it.
It was meant to be, because you played well during the match. It would have been unfair if you don't score at all.
Fair enough. And in game 9 of that particular match, which I'm going to analyze on the first day, we managed to produce some very great. I think we blundered about queens in 4 different ways, and rooks and pieces, and it was rather interesting. Yes. Anyway, welcome Chiquitas, welcome Raiders, and we are doing at a game between Alexander Alyakhin and, I'm sorry, I don't, Anna, what's the name of the Czech master? Milan Bartoszek that was played in 1943
in Prague.
In Prague, yes. All right. So what are we looking for here? We're looking for CD4 and how to continue.
Exactly. I would like to hear a list of candidate moves that you are looking at.
Okay. So Okay. Well, we can give some checks.
Mm-hmm.
We can decide. We obviously don't want to exchange. We can give queen e2 check. We can give you rook check. Honestly, frankly, Anna, this position already feels very uncomfortable for black.
It is.
It really
And
does.
maybe I shouldn't have laughed when I read that bishop d7, Ayakin considered a decisive mistake. But yeah, you're right that now looking at this position, it's only move 8, but it does look like something has gone wrong already for black.
Yeah, I mean the queen e2 check, and and then rook e1, and it's questionable whether black can even castle in this position, or if black can castle, where it's going to castle.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so okay, I think maintaining the tension, I would probably actually play the queen e2 in this position,
Mm-hmm.
and then there is an option to play queen e7, but that's not pretty. There is an option to play rook e1,
Mm-hmm.
which achieves the same, but basically avoids queen e7. So I think the right move order here, if check is the right move, is to play rook e1 then queen e2.
Nikola, I'm sorry I need to interrupt the thought process, but I've just read what Mubot is saying in the chat, and I didn't know about this huge piece of headline news. Wow, wow,
Oh,
wow, wow, wow. Nikola, would you like to tell us about the upcoming event of Open Field Media?
oh, sure. Yes, the next big open media event, it's going to happen on Fiona's Fight Nights. It's going to happen on leeches.org, and it will be Haufan versus Alexander Morozovich. I don't think Haufan needs an introduction. She's the strongest woman in right now. She was a world champion. She's the strongest woman by rating. She's a strong candidate, and please don't clip me and send this to Polgar sisters. For the strongest woman of all time. And Alexander Morozovich was actually a Blitz world champion back in 2008. And so that's actually a very interesting match. And I actually asked about this, and Open Field Media usually tries to match equal opponents, and we'll see what happens. But yes, that's the next match.
This is
So,
amazing, and I
yeah.
remember how many people wanted to see Hui Fan competing. This is gonna be the first match she ever plays online, as far as I know. This is huge. It's absolutely
Yeah.
huge.
So hopefully that's first of several. So we'll see how that goes, but I'm quite sure. And the reason why this is to be announced is everybody's in agreement that they want to play the match, both Alexander and Haufan, but we'll see. Too many time zones are involved, so we'll figure that out. Plus, we don't really want to counter program PogChamps and online Olympiad and so on and so forth. So we'll let you know. So anyway.
So we were talking about Queenie 2 before I interrupted you because it was
So,
too much of a headline news to not
well,
mention. Sorry about that.
Anna, you're participating in a fabulous event tomorrow. It's basically for Anna's
Yeah.
thing. So everybody's looking forward to it. And unfortunately, yours truly will be traveling, but I'll watch the VOD. So who do you think is going to win?
Which team Anna will win?
Hmm?
Which team Anna will win? What do you think?
Well, I'm gonna basically say that a team of Annas will win. So
Bold prediction. Bold
But you
prediction
know
there.
who I'm going to root for. So it will be whichever team you're playing on. So,
Thank you so much. Thank
okay.
you.
And
And
don't
that's gonna
clip
be
this,
Anna Maya,
please.
Anna Kremling, and Anna Muzichuk, plus myself, the four Annas tomorrow. Hand and brain and four-player chess.
Okay. All right.
So
So
Queen E2.
yeah, I think Queen E2, Queen E7 is a normal move there. So I don't kind of want to go there. So it's probably Rook E1 might be a better move order.
So let's just think of that again. The Queen E2, Queen E7. What's going on there?
All right. So I might be missing something. So Queen E2, Queen E7.
I'll just
Uh,
open the window real quick.
okay. So okay, so what we can play here is we obviously don't want to exchange queens because we are dominating on the E and we have we have actually some sort of a strong attack. But we can, after queen E2, queen E7, we can play rook E1. And then we're threatening to pin the queen. Another option is to, let me think for a second.
Question to the viewers as well, guys. I
Yes,
want
please.
everybody to work, of course.
Yeah, I'm not the only one who is supposed to be tortured here. Uh, so queen E2, queen E7, and I don't see a better move than rook E1, right?
I'm sure you will find an even better move.
Ah, there is a better move. Okay, what am I missing?
Maybe.
Okay. Okay, so we can take on D7 with a check, and then the king needs to take with there, and then we can play king B5, and it's gonna be a rather unpleasant position for black. That's the idea?
Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
So this is very important what Nikola has spotted, that
Okay.
even though it looks like black has parried all the threats, bishop takes d7, the queen is pinned, and if you have to take with the king, now we're gonna keep the queen on the board, and the attack continues afterwards. Not aligned at least to mate directly, but now that black cannot castle anymore, and we keep the queens on the board,
Yep.
this is a very strong position, decisive advantage for white.
Yeah.
Excellent.
All right.
So after queen e2, what shall black do?
All right. So obviously queen e7 doesn't work. Bishop or knight? I think bishop makes more sense. So I think bishop e7 is almost forced.
Yeah, exactly.
And here, here you have an option to play rook e1. You almost wish the queen g4 would work, but it doesn't, because at the end of the story there is this bishop on f6. So
yeah,
that doesn't work. Okay. The line is basically take on b5, take on g7, bishop f6, and white doesn't have anything, and check on actually has a check on e1, but yeah, that's not worth the material, I would think. So it's an interesting line. Nah, there's nothing there. Okay. Thanks, Anna. All right, so how do we continue to apply pressure in this position? We can play rook e1. All right, which and we can also, so that's one option. Another option is to activate the knight, play knight b3. So that's, thanks. And I don't see really anything else on it, to be very frank with you.
So rook e1, knight b3. Any other knight moves? So are we looking toward the queen side, king side equally? Which one is your preference?
We can also play knight f3.
Hmm. It can be similar, of course, if you take later on d4. I'm just curious if you would have a preference between the two.
Well, the advantage of playing knight f3 is that we can jump on e5 at some point.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that actually vouches in favor of. Hey, Old Man New Games, thank you for the follow. That's very nice of you, very greatly appreciated. Yeah, I think knight f3 is a superior move because e5 is undefended.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Excellent. And
So,
that's what Eliakim played. Knight
okay,
to
that makes sense.
f3. Now black took on b5. We could also, of course, look into other moves. But if it was, yeah, I think I'm gonna I'm gonna ask you just simply about knight f6. How would you continue? Not once again. There's nothing um too concrete. It's more like what would be your reaction to a developing move like this? Black just wants to castle.
Well, I can, if bullet reaction is just play knight e5.
Mm-hmm.
Another option is to play rook e1 and prevent black from castling. The problem we have is that with knight f6, black can actually play knight e4 and, you know, get out of trouble. So we need to continually apply pressure. So knight e5 probably makes sense. And if knight e4, we can play f3 and chase the knight away. Right.
So once again, with the move order being
So we're going to play knight e5, and if, you know, we can play f3.
knight e5 now, and
Well,
if
or we can play rook e1 first.
mm-hmm.
I mean, the sequence is probably the same. Right. Let me think for a second.
Sure, take your time.
I mean, we basically want to end up in a position in which knight is on e5.
Mm-hmm.
Because then we have multiple pins all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
But I think playing rook e1 first makes the most sense, because it makes it hard for black to castle. So I think the right move is it's knight e1, and then if knight e4, knight e5, and f3 is a threat.
Yeah, and also we can now play at those moves since Nikola already mentioned them. After rook e1, knight e4, knight e5, black is in an immediate question. What can they do about the d7 bishop? Without the knight's protection, this is an immediate threat. And if black takes on b5, queen takes b5, that position collapses instantly.
Yes, that's not good.
Yeah. So this is how easily things can go wrong here. That could be the reason, I think, why black was like, okay, this is troublesome. After knight f3, if knight f6, rook e1, black cannot castle. Knight e4, knight e5. There's really not a good way of getting out of this. So instead of knight to f6, black decided to take on b5. And after queen takes b5, of course, black is trying to trade queens. How do we react to this?
Okay. Well, we obviously do not want to exchange queens.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we exchange queens, we are losing a significant part of our advantage.
Exactly.
The real question is what are our options? Mm-hmm. Where can queen go? Queen can go back to e2 and maintain the pin, which is one option. Yeah. It's maybe not the best option, but it's an option.
Yeah.
Queen can go on b3, where it's questioning the pawn on b7, but that appears to be less appealing. Queen a5 will prevent black from castling, but I'm not sure that black wants to castle long anyway. And I think the strategy here should be to maintain pressure. So I think queen e2 is fine.
Yep, queen e2, very logical. Maintain the pressure, keep the queens
Yeah.
on the board. Exactly. Now, if black plays knight f6, how would you continue?
Black plays knight f6. We can play rook e1, and then
Again.
we can continue with knight e5, bishop somewhere,
Hmm.
and then it's a very strong pressure.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
black still cannot castle.
yeah.
Excellent. So after queen to e2, black decided what Al-Yahin said already moves ago in his annotation, that black will end up castling queenside to try to put up maximum resistance.
Okay, that's a brave move.
It is brave.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So what do we do here? Okay. Let me think for a second. I mean, rook e1 still makes sense.
Hmm.
Uh, Bishop f4 makes sense, though I'm not sure there is a good counterpart to. All right, so let me do the arrows. So this and do this, and we can jump on
Hmm.
e5.
Yeah.
Um, Jumping on e5, and the black can defend that pawn on. Well, he can defend it various ways, but that queen needs to move. So it's queen
Hmm.
e6 or queen e8. And if it plays queen e8, queen g4 is big trouble immediately.
Hmm.
Okay, so I think playing knight e5 is worth, forcing the queen on e8 is actually worth playing a knight e5. So knight e5 is
Hmm.
the move.
Knight e5 is one of the critical moves here. Let's take a look at the options of black here. So
Okay.
where do you think black
Oh,
would
he
go?
also has queen f5. Okay. Yep.
Where
That's
do you think is the best for black to go?
okay. Queen e8 and queen g4 is bad.
Hmm.
And then bishop. Oh, thank you, Jesus, yourself said. I appreciate it. I like this hat.
I really like it too, and it's very
Thank you.
summery.
Thanks. All right, so what are the options? Queen f5 or queen e6?
Hmm.
And queen e8 appears to be risky because queen g4 and then bishop f4, and it's a little ugly.
Hmm.
Okay. Um, so let's see here. Hey, yes, thank you for the follow, my friend. Very greatly appreciated. Thank you. We are watching, we're analyzing a game that Alexander Alekhine played against Master Bartoszek in Prague in 1943. Okay. What am I playing? I'm probably trying to be safe, and I'll probably play queen f5
Hmm.
because that eliminates several threats, and it also prevents bishop coming immediately to f4.
Hmm.
So that would
Yeah.
be my recommended move in this position.
Yeah, you found the top two moves again. So queen f5 and queen e6 um, are the main ones. Queen e6 is somewhat better evaluated when it comes to the computer evaluation. There's a slight preference of the computer toward queen to e6. Why do you think this move has some other benefits too? So queen f5 is good, but queen e6 here the computer is saying this is
Well,
equal.
the pin f6 is threatened.
Yeah, yeah. So this creates immediate
Immediate
threats
threat. Yeah.
with the pin exactly. So it's not that simple now for white to get out of it because the knight depends on the queen, and white still needs to win the pawn back. We don't really want to trade queens, but black is threatening to to push f6, even if we were to defend the queen and bring the rook to the e file, um, black will try to trade the queens.
Yeah.
So this this is why knight e5, even though it's a very straightforward move, is not that strong just yet. So
Okay.
what other candidate moves would you be looking at for white?
Fair enough. There is an option to play bishop f4.
Mm-hmm.
Bishop f4, though, can be immediately parried by bishop d6.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's option number one. Option number two is, um, you know, I don't want to say that anything about pawn grabbing, but this pawn on d4 is perfectly acceptable,
Mm-hmm.
especially since then we can try to push the knight further forward to d5, and knight cannot be removed there.
Mm-hmm.
So, a knight can go there or can go on f5.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another option. Another option is to put a rook on e1 and basically, which stops this knight from being developed on f6.
Mm-hmm.
Long term, somehow I'm enamored by playing rook e1, though, then we can play bishop c5, and it's a good question. Honestly, taking on d4 is probably the most straightforward move.
Mm-hmm.
So
you would go for knight takes d4 because it's most straightforward.
it's straightforward. You have knight b5. I mean, there are options. There is also an option to try to play something along the lines of c4 here,
Uh-huh.
and to open the c file and then basically move the rook on f4, and then it gets ugly. But that's a motive whose time hasn't arrived yet, I would say.
Mm-hmm. True, we still need to develop our pieces.
Yeah.
Knight takes d4 is one of the best moves indeed. So
Yeah.
knight takes d4 is simple but efficient. We need that
Yeah.
knight in the game, and then you can develop the rest of the pieces. So this is one of the top moves, and the other is what you also mentioned, and Ayahin chose this move,
Yeah.
bishop to f4. These two are the main ways in which white can continue keeping the initiative. After bishop f4, Alyahin says, virtually forcing the exchange of bishops and at the same time eliminating a very useful defensive piece. Speaking of the e7 bishop, so he's
Yeah.
saying that this bishop is so strong on this diagonal, which we can, I think, all see, that black, as you
Yeah.
said, is going to have to play bishop d6.
Yeah. If black doesn't play bishop d6, I mean, there are Boden mate motives here.
Mm-hmm.
There is open c file motives here. It's I don't want to say forced, but it's almost forced.
Yeah.
Because right there, rook c1, c4, or c3, and it's doesn't look pleasant.
Yeah, exactly.
All right,
so bishop d6 had to be played and was played. How do we react to bishop d6?
I see no reason not to exchange.
I'm asking you. But it's a good question, yes.
Yeah, I think just a simple exchange is fine. We want to exchange the bishop, and playing bishop g3. I don't see any benefit from opening the f file, so just take on d6 and then take on d4.
Yeah, take and take, exactly.
Yeah.
So now we have regained the pawn that we sacrificed earlier, but more importantly, so this knight is now threatening to gain even more activity, while the black knight is still on the back rank.
Yep.
So black decides, of course, to try to bring it.
Yep.
What's next for white?
Okay. Well, you have an option of playing rook c1 and taking advantage of that open file. Alyahin being Alyahin, he's not going to play knight f5 and play away from the king. So Um, I think knight b5 is a good move.
Mm-hmm.
And then, depending on where black goes, natural move is queen b6, I presume. I can see either him playing c4,
C4,
which might be
and
too
if
far.
black
It can also
t-
go. It can also play a4.
uh-huh. So
So
which pawn push would you go for if it's a pawn push? Because you also mentioned nine moves.
okay, so the problem with c4 is that it releases the positional advantage that we have. So some sort of a line along the playing knight b5,
Mm-hmm.
and then when does the queen go? Um, Goes queen b6, and then we can push a4.
Mm-hmm.
That appears to be a sequence that has some appeal for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can even do the rook swing and play rook a3 and bring the rook over to c3.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, in this line, it looks appealing. Knight b5, queen b6,
Sure.
a4. Um, but apparently after a6, which normally would be something that we want, that black starts weakening even further their king
Yeah.
side, their here the queen side, but where they castled. We don't really have
A
good
good place
squares
for the
for the
knight.
knight.
Yeah.
And if we come back to c3,
Then d4 is a little bit unpleasant.
yes, unfortunately.
Those darn
So
knights.
exactly because of this line, which is really forcing, black actually would be all right here if
Yeah.
not better.
Yeah.
So very tricky position because
Yeah.
it looks very good for white. There's an isolated pawn. Black's king is less safe, but it's not so easy to attack it.
Yeah, I hear you. Hey, Yanmar9, thank you, doing good. Okay, fair enough. So that was a dead end. So what are we do? What else can we do? Obviously, we can play c3 and
Mm-hmm.
reinforce the knight,
Mm-hmm.
and then or we can decide that. Truth be told, with that queen b6, the jump on b5 and queen b6 is a very good parry. We really have no effective way of questioning unless we prepare a4 first, and then we can play a5. Okay, I see this. So let's play. So one option is to play a4,
Mm-hmm.
and the idea to go into the same line, but then if you know queen b6, we play a5,
Mm-hmm.
which may or may actually not be a good move because the pin on queen a6 is pretty strong. All right, so how do we improve this position? Let's go back. We can play rook c1
Mm-hmm.
and then threaten c4,
Yeah.
one of these rooks. We really shouldn't be playing c4 immediately. Okay. All right, so no knight jumps.
No knight jumps.
Um, let me just indulge myself into a slightly different sequence, if you don't mind, Anna.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
All right, so if we played this,
Which one first, you mean?
yeah, the problem here is that yes, we're gonna gain this pawn
Mm-hmm.
because queen f8 almost instantaneously loses to knight e7 and queen e5.
Yes.
The only problem is that black is going to allow us to take the pawn, and then he's going to have a counterplay on the g file.
Mm-hmm.
So that doesn't work either. Hey, Hedgehog 1963, it's good to see you, my friend. Thank you. All right, so, you know, so however appealing that is, that doesn't work. All right, so let's play rook. Let's assume that the best move in this position is rook to fc1.
Mm-hmm.
And try to open the c file and bring the rooks to bear.
Sure. That's an option because we would want to open up the c file, of course. And white maintains the advantage. Al-Yahim played a different move that's also an interesting one. I don't know if, in terms of evaluation, if either of them are better or worse. I do like your idea of preparing for c4. He said in his annotation, um, he mentioned exactly the knight jumps that you were describing. So both knight b5, knight f5. He's saying the problem of creating an attack is not very easy to resolve. Neither knight f5 nor knight b5 would have any result. And he's saying that exactly what we looked at. If knight b5, queen b6, and then a6. If knight f5, then the other way, it's queen f4,
Yeah.
and knight takes g7. It's not going anywhere. We are just getting our knight trapped.
Yeah.
So, since the knight jumps don't work, he's saying, on the other hand, black is going to occupy the e file. So I guess maybe that's why he discarded rook c1 at first to start the line with that move, because he's saying that rook e8 is coming regardless, which will procure a counter-attacking advantage. White's next move is the only one likely to give him a lasting initiative. That's what Ayahin said about his own move, which is... Can you guess it after this description? What could be the move that he thinks is the best here?
Thank you, Shift Taste, for the follow. Very greatly appreciated. All right, so he's not playing rook c1.
No.
Okay, that pesky Alyahin. All right.
The question is always, of course, to the viewers too. I hope you guys are thinking, because I don't want just Nikola to suffer. You guys should also try to solve it.
Yes. And everybody thinks Anna is sweet. Well, actually, Anna is sweet. Anna is the only person who can play an Empress Rudolfana as the Sith Lord and come across as nice.
I tried. I tried.
All right, so what did he play? Hey, thank you for Hound of CS for the sub. That's very greatly appreciated. Thank you, my friend. Okay, so what are the options? It's not the knight move. It's not the rook move, so it's a queen move, right? So queen b5 is the natural aggressive move, but I don't see any immediate threat. c4, we declare that it doesn't work. And a4 is... okay. Let's me think for a second. Does a4 really prevent that line that we just discussed with queen b6 and a6?
How do you mean it exactly, move by move?
All right, so a4, some move.
Rook e8?
Well, then we play queen d3, and there is knight e4, and then there is also knight g4, and we gave black a counterattack.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. Queen b5 is really not threatening anything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. b4 is nice if he's gonna oblige and take, but he won't. All right, so yeah, this is incidentally when I get into trouble.
It's
What?
not a simple position.
No, not. And it's material
It looks
is
simple.
material is reduced, but it's not simple. Okay, so what did he play? C4?
If c4 rook e8, so I think his issue was in most of the lines that rook e8 comes with a tempo,
Yeah,
and then black will manage to react to whatever we do. So c4, we would like to take back on c4 with the queen, but if rook e8, now we have to keep the protection of the c4 pawn, so we need to place the queen on d3 or c2, and then black can take it. And it's not the same because now
yeah.
black
No,
has
that
also
doesn't
activated the
work,
rook.
and the knight is threatened, and we lost the positional advantage. I mean, we can
Yeah.
play knight b5, but that's not there. Okay, so yeah, thank you, Anna. All right, and it's not c3, c4 either. Okay. Yeah, it looks like we lost the momentum here a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can we play queen f3?
What's the idea behind queen f3?
Well, within the idea between queen f3 is you can swing it over to the queen side easier.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can also give a check on f5.
Mm-hmm.
You can also deploy your rooks alongside the open e file, and c4 appear c4 stronger. What happens with knight b5? It maintains pressure.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it also gets the queen out of the rook e8 thing. Do I see anything concrete? I don't.
But everything you described is true. And actually, there's something concrete after queen f3 as well. So, what
Okay,
are we threatening?
okay.
Everything you said is true. But also, with a direct threat, at least we're annoying black with a couple of ideas.
Well, there is, we can play knight. Hold on a second. Can we play queen b5 in this knight b5 in this position? There is a question of queen f5 and where does the king go.
Mm-hmm.
There is a queen c3 is met by queen c7. But if we go on b5, we now have a check on. So basically, knight b5 is all of a sudden becomes a viable move because we have queen c3.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
Both knight b5 and knight f5 have become actual threats. Knight b5 for what you mentioned, and knight f5 because there's no more queen f4 as response. And
Yep.
if we take on g7, then the f6 knight is undermined. So suddenly,
Yep.
it's very concrete. Therefore, after queen to f3, black played queen b6. What's next?
Okay. All right. So what do we do here? If we play queen f5, we're chasing the king where it kind of wants to go to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
We should welcome black taking the b2 pawn.
Mm-hmm.
There is a concrete threat that this knight is basically undefended. So we can, c3 is a problematic move because it restricts the white queen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What can we play here? We cannot play knight f5 because that doesn't really have any value. Hey, Pawn Grabber, thank you for the follow. Very greatly appreciated. Thank you. So we really cannot play queens. We need to address the knight.
We do need to address the knight. So would we move away or protect it?
Well, if we push c3, we have restricted the queen. It's tempting to actually play rook d1.
Rook d1, what are the pros? What are the advantages that rook d1 has and c3 does not?
Well, we have not restricted the queen's ability to roam wildly on the third rank.
That's one.
So that's one. Yes, King Harris. Serbian is my mother tongue, so I do speak Serbian. So that's one. Another is that we are activating the rook, and and we are threatening to swing the rook over. Play something alongside of this, though that's probably too slow. So that actually looks like a very natural move. I prefer that to c3. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So I think rook d1 is the move I would play.
You described very well the differences, and c3 does not improve our pieces, while rook d1 does bring yet another piece into the game. So important that we are using that tempo as well for development.
And the best reason is when we do want to play c4 at some point. And if we play c4, obviously play c3, we cannot play c4 again. So
yeah, exactly. Rook g8 was played in the game, and now what's next? And I'm sorry, I need a tissue, but my allergies are bothering me today more than usual.
I always consider myself blessed. My wife's suffering from allergies as well. I'm blessed I don't have them. So, okay, so we can play AC1, rook AC1, and then this is a legitimate threat. I'm not sure we're achieving anything if we push A4, A5. That might be too slow. On top of it, queen A6 is a perfectly fine place for the queen.
Yeah.
And by the time we push, B4, B5, it's gonna take, forever. I don't see any queen moves that are immediately threatening in any way, so forth. So we kind of need to bring the rooks into play. So I think this is a obvious move and probably the best move.
Rook AC1 is one of the top moves, and with the idea of C4 you already described, that's a very strong plan. The other one is what Al-Yahim played, but both of them are very similar in terms of evaluation. So Rook AC1 with C4, that's one good plan, and the other is another pawn push.
We're talking about A4, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so that's another way of possibly activating the rook through the third rank.
Yeah.
It has become an option. And A5 in general to chase this queen away, maybe even push further to A6. After A4, black played rook to E4. What's next now for white?
Well, we can push A5, obviously, because that it's not like black is going to take the queen, take the knight.
Yeah.
So that's a legitimate move. I still don't like C3, though. In this case, C3 is perfectly legitimate move because C4 is less likely to be played if we decided to push the A pawn.
Yeah, exactly. Knight C3 more.
Yeah.
Sorry, this one.
Yeah. We can. I mean, basically, white has initiative and a potential attack. So I think a4 is a naturally aggressive move. I mean, then queen c5, and then we can even play b4, sacrifice the pawn, put the rook on b1, and maybe that may or may not work. Here is the line. I'm just going to show this to myself more than anybody else. Okay, so we play a5, queen c5, b4, queen takes, c3, rook b1. And then we can push a6, and we kind of have an open b file. So I would, if this was like a longer game, I would look into this.
Yeah. If it was a shorter game?
If it's a shorter game, I'm pushing a5 and whatever happens. If this is some sort of a rapid game and I respect my opponent, I would just play c3 and wait.
Yeah. Yeah, very good. Basically, what Ayahin played is a combination of the two that you mentioned. He pushed a5, and after queen c5,
he played c3 then. Yeah, that makes sense.
Just
okay. Yeah.
Strengthening that knight post on d4, and also b4 becomes quite a serious candidate move afterwards. Although when black played rook d e8, he just made a prophylactic move.
Yeah, and he, let me guess, played g3 or h3.
Yeah, which one do you think is his choice?
Well, we'd want to eliminate some knight jumps on a g4 from the knight, so h3 is the right move. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
so just making sure that the knight's not coming in, plus the back rank, there will never be a back rank issue.
It's not just that, b4 then is a concrete threat. Because if you play queen without h3, if you play b4, queen c3, rook, one of the rook on c1, you're gonna get mated on the back rank.
You mean queen c3 here?
I'm not saying that's the good line, but then queen c3 loses immediately to rook c1.
Yeah, and because of this queen, right?
Yeah. Oh, my bad. Sorry.
Yeah. No, but I understand the idea that you wanted to sacrifice the queen for one of the rooks.
Yeah.
Exactly. So the back rank will sooner or later will need to deal with the back rank. So Ayakin decided to do it instantly and also control the g4 square. So multi-purpose move, h3. He gives it an exclamation mark and says, making use of a moment's respite to open up an escape square for the king.
Yeah.
This move will be found in analogous positions in many of my games, he said.
Wow, okay. He's not exactly famous for this guy. Anyway.
He invented h3.
Hvala, Lucky. Thank you, Lucky. Samo napred. That means go forward in Serbian.
Ah, I see. Yeah. Excellent. Just wanted to mention too that when we played a5, here. Yeah, he simply mentioned that if queen takes b2, he was just gonna play c3 to protect the knight and then threaten rook b1.
Hedgehog, this is a game between Alexander Ayakin that he played in Prague in 1943 against Czech master Bartoszek.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the current position is this one, and after h3, black played queen c7. What's next?
Okay. She certainly does, moving Dutchman. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And funny thing is...
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And she does the same thing in her classes too. Okay, so this is a sneaky move. Haha. Because now the back rank mate is threatened again. Okay. So the time has come to... What do we play here? We can play
Time has
ace.
come too, and that's a question to you guys as well. What is the next right move here?
You see, any this queen c7 obviates any a6 takes rook a6 move because we're gonna get happily mated.
Mm-hmm.
We can play knight b5. Okay, just as a for sleeping Mishkin, if for just a hypothetical line, a6 takes, and then rook e1 is a mate because here is the queen controls
Mm-hmm.
h2. All right, so we can play knight b5. We can, as Jesus himself is saying, we can play queen f5. But how do we take advantage of this position? Honestly, knight b5 looks like a pretty good move, Anna.
Mm-hmm.
Queen f5 is a fine move, but it kind of pushes the king where it kind of wants to go. I don't think that we have an... I mean, we can actually play even c4 here.
Mm-hmm.
Though c4 is... So we can do that. Yeah. I mean, knight b5 appears like a perfectly normal and natural move. I mean, we can also play b4. That might be a little bit slow.
Mm-hmm.
Because by the time we put b5, b6, it's, you know... I would play knight b5 here in a bullet game without thinking.
Knight b5 is a really strong move, so let's just see one of the potential follow-ups there. I mean, black doesn't have too many options, to be honest. Queen c5 to also keep protecting the a7 pawn and attack the knight. What would be your response here?
Okay. Right, so what do we do here? So we need to, that defense, that knight needs to be defended somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, can we play c4 here?
Let's calculate c4. What happens after c4?
Okay, c4, obviously, if he takes, this is a very nice fork.
Mm-hmm.
If he takes with a queen, there is this.
Yeah, excellent.
And if he pushes d4,
This one more capture, the rook capture, right?
there is a rook capture, okay. On the rook capture, what do we do on rook capture? Yeah, we don't have much on the rook capture, and I'm not seeing something.
You can do it, Nikola. Let's just visualize that position. I'm gonna get rid of the arrows because it's too
Thank you.
confusing.
All right, so c4, take rook c4. We can... Okay, we can do... What can we do? We can give a check on f5. And after check on f5, we can... What am I missing?
So c4, rook takes c4, and there's a really strong move there for white that we are looking for.
Okay, I don't see it yet. C4, rook c4. Swix is suggesting b3. That's actually not a bad move, but then rook can go to c2, and we haven't achieved much. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Knight a3 doesn't seem to work. What am I missing? Rook d5 is not the move. We can give a check on f5.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so
You already have mentioned the right move, but I think you didn't give it credit. So let's just roll through your thought process again
okay.
and think which idea you missed. But you mentioned the move.
All right, so thank you. So c4 takes on c4. Okay, and that I'm not sorry. Bad, my bad. Come on, stupid arrows. Thank you. All right, so c4 takes on c4. Well, there is. I think this knight a3 actually works.
What's going on after knight a3?
Yeah, that's actually the right move. Thank you, Dritman. You're exactly right.
Mm.
Because where does the rook go? It can't go on c2, can't go on c3, and if it moves around the fourth rank, we put one of our rooks on c1, and the queen is gone.
Exactly. Beautiful. Let's play those
Okay.
moves out. So c4 here is a really strong move because black can't really take it at any piece.
Yeah.
So as Nikola said, if d takes c4, knight d6. If queen takes c4, knight d6. If rook takes c4, knight a3. And the rook cannot abandon the c5 because of rook c1. You notice a line, I think?
The only line we haven't looked at is what happens if he plays d4.
Yeah. So capture is not possible, but black may push. Let's take a look at that one.
Okay. All right. So what do we have if black pushes d4, which looks actually the best move in this position, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So queen needs to stay here on this diagonal. It needs to defend d6.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And to defend d6 needs to stay on this diagonal because it can't go to b6, can't go to c6 for rook a7, can't go to c7, and actually, and queen e5, basically white take this. So queen is basically almost overloaded in this position.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we take advantage of it?
Mm-hmm.
We can play b4.
d4, b4.
If you play
Mm-hmm.
b4, then queen takes on b4. We take on a7, or we do something else.
Mm-hmm.
But queen, that's threatened.
Excellent.
And we should be actually winning in this position, right? After queen a7, blah, then we play rook b1, we push a6, and the mating attack should be coming through.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
b4 is a really strong move. Well done.
Okay.
d4, b4. We already gave up the c4 pawn earlier, and now we are offering the b pawn as well.
Yeah.
But that's where we want to open up the position anyway. Yep. And as you said, the queen is overloaded. So well done. This is a really powerful attack for white. What happened in the game is another way of creating a powerful attack, but this was certainly the other option. So let's go back to c3, h3, queen c7, and here.
So Alekin didn't play knight b5, and Kaiotsuk, thank you for the follow.
He didn't play knight b5, but he played another really straightforward line. So knight b5 c4, I like that idea, and it's strong. He played a different way of trying to get through and attack black.
Okay. The straightforward line is to push b4 and then try to attack.
Mm-hmm.
What else is there? I mean, we can play a6 and then
Mm-hmm.
not take if
Yes. So the issue with a6 you mentioned earlier that we can't take because that's when we get mated.
mated. Yeah,
Careful about that back rank mate.
yeah.
But if black takes on a6, there's no way back. There's no way back for those pawns. So the pawn structure of black has already been weakened on the queen side. And we can just continue with a different move. What would be here a useful move for white?
g3.
G3, for instance, so that we threaten to take the pawn. Very, very logical um, and strong. G3.
Yeah,
You can also play queen d3 if you want to threaten to take with the queen, but both are strong and can be. You can start with one, play the other if needed. So b takes a6 is therefore gonna be a huge weakness on the queen side for black. After b6, the opponent of Aliahin decided to try to keep the position close by pushing b6.
ouch. Sleeping Mishkin, it's Alyachin versus Bartoszek in 1943. So the white is Alyachin, and
Mhm.
Checkmaster Bartoszek is black. Okay. You're more than welcome. Okay, so this now becomes interesting.
Mhm.
Knight b5, c4, queen f5. Um, hmm. Okay. What's wrong with knight b5? Knight b5 is met by something like queen e7, or better yet, queen d7. Right. But then we can play queen g3. We don't need to play c4 in this position, though we can. Okay. Okay, so if this is a bullet game, I'm probably playing knight b5 immediately, right?
Mhm. And after the queen moves, where do you think black should go after knight b5?
Probably on d7. It needs to defend the d6, right? So
Mhm.
it's somewhat limited. Actually, can he? I mean, he needs to defend the a7 pawn, right? So.
Does
Uh,
he need to?
hmm?
Does he need to defend it? Let's just double check.
He doesn't.
I don't know.
Okay. Well, this is a charged question. All right. So knight b5. Uh, okay. Knight b5, rook, queen f4 appears appealing.
Mhm.
Um, Thanks, Rodman. Of course she does.
But do you guys know the answers? After knight b5, does black need to keep the a7 pawn protected?
Well, white takes with check, and then gets the knight back, and he has a very strong passed pawn, right?
The part is about gets the knight back. That's the important part, right?
Yeah, of course. All right, so okay, so let's say we play knight b5, queen c4, right? And you are basically saying we can't defend the knight. Okay, I see the point. Thank you, Anna.
So knight b5 and the queen goes to.
C4.
You sure?
Oh, that's a very nice. I'm joking, but yeah.
Would be beautiful though. Let's just show because this is
That's probably the nicest fork you can possibly have, right?
exactly. I don't know how many times I've seen this one because
Sure.
this is an absolute family fork. The whole family is there.
Yes. Anyway, all the my major pieces. But bottom line, how do we make that threat that effective? Uh, what we want to do is we want to play something like, hey, Christopher, Jonathan, McKee, thank you for the follow, my friend. Very greatly appreciate it. All right, so what Anna is basically saying is that after playing some relatively neutral move, like, let's say, the knight can be trapped when queen after take queen goes to d7 and the knight is trapped, right?
So the line would be if you want to play at some of the moves.
Sure. So let's see, where do we put the queen? That's the real question.
Yeah, I'm trying to force you to choose a square.
It's kind of fun to find a square that may. All right, so let's save to this. Just we can't. So, but what we can do, we will just play queen d7, and that defends everything.
Yeah, you can play queen d7 to protect the a7 pawn, but if black decides that they don't need to keep it protected, where would you place the queen? To make sure that the knight doesn't come out. So with queen c4, that's the idea you had, but it failed because of the fork.
Now you can go to c5.
Exactly.
Which
so
is
with queen
that's
c5,
a perfectly natural move.
yeah, it takes the knight, and unfortunately for white, we can't take the pawn because the knight now is not coming back from a7.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
So that's why he didn't play knight b5. He's saying in his analysis, knight b5, queen c5, knight takes a7 would be a mistake because of king to b8. And then he says d takes c4. Oh, I'm not exactly understanding the rest of the annotation because it's just text and it's not the line. But yeah, basically he's just pointing out that he can't go and capture the pawn. Still, it's of course possible to play knight b5, but it's not as strong anymore. There's a move here after b6 that really is powerful, and it's the kind of move that Nikola would play.
Okay, very good. So, what's the good move? All right, Nikola is not seeing much, but that's fine. All right, we don't want to play. I mean, we can play c4 yet again. That has been an ongoing threat for some time.
And if black takes it?
If black takes it, then we can actually play knight b5.
Exactly, and after the queen moves?
Then we give a check on d6 and we can make our choice rooks wise.
Yeah.
So that's
very important.
Yeah, that's the right move.
This is
okay.
Winning because the d5 has opened up. c4 is an extremely strong move. Can't be taken with the queen either for what you mentioned earlier, rook c1. And this would be a position where it's important that we have played h3 because these were the lines where Nikola was saying that black could, well, this is a check though, but I was hoping we could somehow get to the position where h3 makes sense. Well, almost. But it's useful in general. And c4 is such a powerful move. If black cannot take it, we are threatening regardless of taking on d5, opening up the c file, and winning the queen. So after c4, black played queen to c5. How shall we react?
Okay. All right, so what can we do here? All right, we have actually quite a lot of options. We can actually take on d5 and threaten rook c1, right?
Uh-huh.
So that is a little fishy because black can take on d4, and then after rook c1, they can play rook c4 and protect the
Yeah,
queen. So
exactly.
we cannot do that. So we need something more concrete, and something more concrete is what? Um, okay, we can play actually. So let's see here. Blah. Guess what? This has been a motive for the time immemorial.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so
That's an
that
option for sure.
that's still an option. We probably don't want to take on d5 because it takes on d5, and then it's open for the debate how we proceed. We can play knight b5, which then now genuine threat to take on a7. And honestly, and I don't see anything else. What am I
Look,
missing?
those are great options that you mentioned. If b4, which is a very powerful move, um, if black takes it,
Okay, if black takes on b4, then we have. All right, so let's see here. We have queen f5, and where is the queen? Where is the king going?
good question.
If it
There's only
goes
one
on,
square.
I cannot go here or here. He goes on c7. We have knight b5 check, and that's very close to a mate actually. Let's see here. Yeah, let's see. Queen a7, blah blah. Yeah. Okay. Does knight d7 save the day?
After queen f5, you mean knight d7?
Yes. Okay, but then we can play knight c6, and then we're gonna take this, and where does the queen go?
Exactly.
Okay, yeah. All right, so basically b4 is the move.
Yeah, b4 was one of the winning moves indeed for everything that you mentioned. After queen takes b4, queen f5 is really strong because the
Yep.
king cannot go to either squares on the eighth rank. There's a fork, and if king to c7, knight b5 is strong here, but there's a move order that's perhaps even more accurate. What do you think it would be?
Okay. Well, we can even take this, right? And what does the black do? He can take the knight, but then rook c1 is basically crushing quite quickly. Or is it? Hold on.
No, c takes d5 would be the way to go, but the queen on b4 is still a bit annoying.
Grid. So instead of knight b5 appears like a natural move, right? But then
Yeah,
queen.
knight b5 is good, so definitely that's one of the good moves. I was just curious if you would go for a different move order, or not play knight b5 later, if there's a different idea. But knight b5 is strong, so yeah, definitely knight b5 is one of the options. What would be another way? There's
Can I play rook c1?
um which rook? I'm
Well,
guessing is the a rook.
we need to defend the knight, so it would be
A rook,
ac1.
yeah. No, rook a c1 or rook a b1 indeed. So knight b5 is one of the the winning lines, and the other is if you bring the one piece that still is not
Oh, go to
involved in
B1.
the attack.
Okay.
Yeah, rook c1 too is good, and rook b1 just for the fact that the queen doesn't really have many useful squares, and then depending on where the queen goes. So if you don't give the check immediately, there's still, so that's always in the air. Queen d6 cannot be played for that.
Yes, and Queen
Um,
A3 cannot be played for the same reason. So
Queen
it's
a3 cannot be
so it's
played.
C5, and then we can actually take, and then we're actually threatening Rook C1. And if
Yeah,
he
that
goes on yeah, so we can here we can take on D5.
can you, or this is the what's the right move order? Because
Okay, the
it
right
still
move
is tricky.
order is what? Right move order is to we can give a check on B5.
Yes.
And then where do we go? C6 is not good.
If king b8.
Queen b8. What do we do on king b8 here? Hold on. I actually don't see the line here. Then
Just simple chess.
say it again.
Just simple chess.
Okay, yeah, this is where I get lost and I start blundering pieces. Haha. Can I can take on d5 with the pawn.
Yeah, exactly. So we
And
take that pawn. That opens up the c5 too. This is a passed pawn.
yeah,
It's not. It's not immediately winning, but at the same
it's
time, it
winning.
is.
Yeah.
It is a
Okay.
decisive advantage. Very good. So that would be the most precise move order. But knight b5 immediately would have been very similar. It's just that we chased the
Okay.
queen away even further and activated our rook because the rook on a1 wasn't involved in the attack.
Okay.
Very good job. This is one of the winning lines before, and of course Alyakin found another one, which is good sign if White's position is that strong that there
Yeah.
are multiple ways of winning it. He just went for the simple. So wait a second, sorry. Am I in the right move? A6. Oh no, sorry. Yeah, I should have promoted it. This is why I can never go back to the line. A6, B6. No, this is not promoted. John would tell me that that's not the way.
That's fine.
A6.
John
A6.
John has a mathematical mind and he's very organized. I'm not,
He
so
is.
don't worry.
So A6, B6, and then C4. Black played queen to C5.
Okay, which
The
is
line you
in the
mentioned, B4, is really
B4. Yeah.
strong. And the other move, just simple chess, is what Alyahin went for, moving the hanging piece away and saying that that d6 is still an issue.
Yep.
This is hanging,
And we
then
have
the
a
rook
concrete
comes.
threat of taking on D5 and then Rook C1 or yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
everything, including taking on g7 so that the knight on f6 is hanging. So suddenly it's all falling apart for black. After knight f5, black played queen b4, but this is just to get out of the c file, maybe give this check. What shall we do here?
What can we not do here? I mean,
Exactly. What would be your way of finishing the
well,
game? Because this is just
you
like,
know, I played the first game in my match against Julian. I played G4 because Alessia Santaramo, who likes Grub, was commentating. So I'm gonna do the same thing here. I'm gonna just take the pawn on G7.
yeah, exactly. You can take it. The rook is hanging, knight is hanging.
Yeah,
It's just
and
really bad.
it's game over. Yeah,
Yeah, the only option would be for black to try to survive is to give a check. How would you react?
I don't need to take it, do I? So I can just
Correct.
yes, I just go king h2, and it's the end of the story.
Yeah, winning move because now still everything is hanging for black. So we just don't care about the trade on e1. Um, in the game after queen b4, Ayakin just took on d5. I think knight takes g7 is winning easier, but he took on
I
d5.
agree.
He took on d5, and after rook f4, he played queen to d3. So it's This pawn is, of course, a beast. Plus, we have opened the c5. But knight takes g7 was winning on the spot, so I'm not exactly sure why he
Yeah,
chose this line. He doesn't commentate on it. So there were annotations to all the previous positions. There's no comment on this one. No comment on this one.
okay.
Maybe someone told him after the game that he could have played it. I don't know.
I actually have that. I actually have the book that this is probably from. It's called My Best Games or something. Uh, I never actually got the chance to review it. So, but
I'm
it's
just playing at the last moves because so many lines were winning that this is already not the critical part. But I want to show the final moments because it was a pretty finish. It was a pretty finish. And after rook e8, Aliahin just says g3.
hey,
And
Dirkia, good to see you.
okay, hello. He just adds, this wins at least the exchange since the rook cannot retreat because of rook c4. And that's true. That wins the material. And
I think
um
king on d7 is brave even for a Spartan
yeah,
king.
he just added as a final thought that if White had played rook c4 immediately, then he thinks that would have failed too. And this is the final question: why this move, even though it's tempting, wasn't so good for White?
Okay. Uh, he has knight f2, right?
Exactly. Well done.
Yeah.
So even though Black's position is completely lost, there's always room for error. We always need to be alert and just not take it for granted that every move wins.
I agree. Hey, Chesvidovi, thank you for joining us. This is a game between Alexander Ayakin and Czech Master Borashek in 1943. So we are almost at the end here. Okay.
Yes, I'll play at the last moves, but as we mentioned, this was already not the important part. What's important is not to blunder the last tricks possible. So always be alert. G3 is the right move order. Black played knight c5, and Aliahin simply took that knight after rook e1 check, rook takes, queen takes, king g2, rook takes g4, and queen f5 was the final position.
Yeah.
But the end wasn't as important as the earlier stages. So I wanted to ask you, Nikola, what did you think were the critical moments? What did you find the most instructive in this game?
Okay, so let me just, and I know you need to leave soon, so I'm gonna get quickly. The question here is, at which point was Black in trouble? And I'm not going to say bishop d7, it's immediately lost. But, I think White played for an initiative from the get-go. I think castling queenside was a brave decision. So bishop d6. Hey, Podlisai, thank you for calling us. And hi, Storm2709, it's very good to see you. All right, so this is already a difficult. You put this position in front of someone and ask him to evaluate this, and they would say it's very close to equality, and it really isn't.
Yeah, it looks simple, the position, but it wasn't. And White does have the initiative.
Yeah, I think what I really like about this game, and
oh shoot, sorry, I didn't promote the right move, the
it's fine.
c4 position.
I think it's one of the. I think it's anyway. It's whenever. It doesn't really matter. We're still not in the right.
Oh
line.
yeah, sorry. Because Black didn't take but played queen to c5, so this is the main
that's
line.
the line. Okay. Take a sleeping.
And this was your move before, which from here on, I think after White pushed a6, there were a couple of winning lines. Okay. I really like your one. I thought this is very straightforward.
Yeah, it's fine. I think this is one of the great moves how to maintain initiative.
Yep.
You know, it's not a positional advantage. It's a great. This is something that actually I think Garry Kasparov has in more recently was a master of. It's you know, if Capablanca and Karpov will be able to convert minuscule positional advantages, I think Alechin is a master of
Hmm.
converting initiative advantage.
Yeah.
And I think this is a really nice game. So thank you. Um,
I'm glad you enjoyed it,
yeah, I
Nicola. I'm
did.
glad you
I did.
enjoyed
It
it.
was very instructive, and it was very one disadvantage of playing. You know, for this type of advantages, it's fairly easy to go astray, actually,
Yeah.
and it's
True.
very perishable advantage. So
Yeah. Exactly. If we had not taken every single move and trying to go for the most forcing lines, the most powerful continuations, then, as you said, the advantage could disappear from one move to the other.
yeah, and just you know, jumping with b5 and on the b5 was the right moment was actually
Hmm.
very instructive because there were at least three moments where it was not the best move in the position.
Exactly. And Black could have even taken the initiative had we played that move earlier.
Yeah. Okay.
Excellent.
Well, thank you, Anna. This was fabulous. Thank you guys for being here. This was fun. Uh, this is a little bit shorter than our normal sessions because we both need to leave. Alechin was a very beautiful, was such a great player. He's one of my favorite world champions, and we are gonna raid someone. And who are we going to raid? Let's see who is streaming. Just let me. Thank you, Moving Dutchman. That means a lot. So who can we raid? Let's see. I'm gonna send you to another dear friend of mine. His name is Squirrely, and he's a great chess streamer, and he's streaming in these city streets. So
Hmm.
let me send you there. Give him a follow if you haven't. And Squirrely, I'm pretty sure that's the right thing. Yep. And thank you again. We are gonna have my best losses on Thursday and Chiquitas on Sunday. Looking forward to it. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. See you soon.
Thank you, Golden Lion. Very greatly appreciated. Let's see if the raid comes through. It came through.